You want it? It's loud. Sound check.
Sorry. They just say one. No one else is hi.
Good evening, everyone. So first and foremost, thank you for being here. Thank you to Watson Temple for allowing us to use this sanctuary in this space for this important task we have before us tonight. My name is Dr. Bruce Strobel. I'm the chairperson of Tallahassee ALERT. That's the African American Local Election Review Team. We are one of the core sponsors of this forum for the evening, along with our partners, the Tallahassee branch of the NAACP, the FAMU chapter of ACLU, and the League of Women Voters. So we are very happy to be here. We're very happy to have you all here with us. And again, our agenda for the night is we have a series of questions, and we want to make sure that we're able to hear from our candidates who have bravely come here before you to share their platforms, their ideas, and their goals for this city that we all love. So just some ground rules for the night. You may hear things from candidates you don't agree with. You may hear things from candidates you don't like, but we are not here to hear from you at this point in time. There is an opportunity for you to submit questions, and if we have time, once we get through all of our questions, the moderators will be giving your questions. And you can text them to 850-935-7725. But I cannot promise you that we will get to questions from the audience. We've already prepared a list of questions that the candidates will be answering. Aside from that, we ask that you have your attentive ears on, you listen. There are two restrooms here. There's one in the front. There's a men's restroom through that door and a ladies' room through this door over here if you need to use the facilities. Other than that, we do have some snacks out in the breezeway, but you cannot eat in the sanctuary. So we're going to get started in a few seconds. I'm going to turn it over to my moderators, and we're going to have a great evening. So thank you all for coming.
Good evening. My name is Daikiba Gaskin, and I'm glad to be moderating this event today.
Hey, good evening. My name is Mutaki Akbar. I know Chuck Hobbs was supposed to be the moderator today, so he had a family emergency, so I stepped in for him. So as Chairman Strubel said, that we're going to get through the questions. We're going to start with some opening statements and some introductions of all our candidates. And then the ground rules will be that we'll have some questions that have just a general ask, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to those questions. And then we'll have also some yes or no questions. And we'll just give them about a minute to respond to those yes or no questions. And we'll try to go in order, switch up the order each time to give everybody the opportunity to answer the questions. And just so for the audience is aware, we do submit all of our questions to the candidates beforehand, so they can have an opportunity to review those questions. You didn't get the questions? Okay, let's talk about it. All right. So you're okay with going? Yeah. Okay. All right, so we will get started with introductions, and we'll just go down each for each candidate. And I'll start with our current City Commissioner, Diane Williams-Cox.
Good afternoon. It is indeed a pleasure to be here. I am Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox, and I'm here to answer whatever questions that may be here being forwarded to us. It has been a pleasure to serve on the City Commission since 2018. We've done a lot of great work, but we have a lot of more work to do, and I'm ready to do it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joe Kalicki. Excited to be running for City Commission Seat 5. Born and raised here in Tallahassee, Florida, and I've spent the last 10 years solving really complicated problems through collaboration and communication. Most recently working in public health with the World Health Organization, CDC, and our Department of Health here in Florida. And what I've learned from that is that our government should be informed through good data, good smart use of technology, And what I'd really love to do is to take that career that I built and apply it to the major problems that our city has, like developing our economy, ensuring that there's equitable access to housing, and ensuring that the function of our city commission represents the will of everybody in our city. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you to Alert for allowing me to be here today. Thank you to the moderators, and especially thank you to you all who are here supporting. I am Tiffany Hill, Dr. Tiffany Hill. I am a long-term resident here. I was born and raised in South City. I am what most people probably would call a brickler baby. So I am here to represent the people who grew up in low-income housing like me, those who have experienced any type of wrongdoings that they felt by the city. So I'm here to represent you all. My father is Oliver Hill Sr. He is my hero, a lifelong community advocate in South City. And I am a combat veteran. I served in war. I served in Desert Shield, Storm, and CARE, and also Operation Enduring Freedom. So I served my country well. I was promoted into a higher position because people believed in me. I obtained a doctorate degree because someone saw that I am a great humanitarian, and I don't just say what I'm gonna do, I do what I'm gonna do. And so I'm here to not only continue to serve my fellow veterans, but to also serve the citizens of Tallahassee. So thank you.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bernard Michael Stevens Jr. I am currently running for Tallahassee City Commissioner, seat 5. It is good to see you all coming out here after your long day of work. I am here to fight to give the people a voice. We should not have to fight to be heard. We should be able to voice our opinions and be able to be understood with that. I'm not here to debate or single anybody out, but I am here to participate in a formal manner. You got any questions, comments, or concerns, you can see me after the debate, and I assure you I will get those answers. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, if we could give all of our candidates a round of applause. And I think it's important to recognize, one, how important it is for ordinary citizens to step up and step in to try to run and speak about these issues, and two, the courage that it takes to put yourself out there to do this. So and especially showing up to this forum with Tallahassee Alert, where we're very intentional about addressing issues that affect the African American community, and one of the first candidate forums for this election season. So we want to thank you all for participating. We have 100% of the candidates that came in, and so we're going to dive right into our topic. So the first area that we want to dive into deals with equitable development, land use, and neighborhood power. So the question on this one is, when the city is considering selling or leasing public land, changing zoning, or offering incentives, what criteria will you use to decide yes or no? And what industries or project types will you prioritize for long-term growth, including innovation hubs, incubators, or green economy initiatives? Should I repeat that? All right, so we'll start with you, Commissioner Cox.
Thank you. You want to go first? Okay. Well, I can tell you what I have done. What I've done is receive the information that has been provided, that has been researched by staff. I do my own research, talk to people who know about this more than I do. It's not my wheelhouse, and make the best decision that I can make for our community. Our community needs affordable housing, and we know this. We know that we need to have housing for more people. We need to provide shelter for the homeless. And so those are the kinds of factors that I weigh in to determine when and where to do this. We also have a comprehensive plan. Prior to coming to the City Commission, I served on the Planning Commission, and the comprehensive plan drives what our development and our growth in our city is. And that comprehensive plan, it was not put together yesterday. It wasn't put together today. It was put together 30 years ago, and we're in the process now of updating it, because what we knew 30 years ago, things have changed. And so we're having to do some things. We're understanding that there are going to be about 30,000 more people moving to the city of Tallahassee, moving to Leon County. We've got to have somewhere to put them. We also got to have somewhere for students to live, not only while they're in school, but also when they graduate. We want to retain that talent and have it here. So we want to make sure we have a good quality of life. So all of those things go into play when we're looking at where and how to develop and where and how to build. We also want to make sure that we don't stack all affordable housing on the south side. We need to have affordable housing throughout our city, because everybody wants to live in good neighborhoods. Everybody wants a quality of life. And so we don't want to sandbag any section of town with just affordable or low rent housing. So we look at all of those things to make sure it is equitable, and make sure that we do take into consideration what is there, what is planned for that community, for those neighborhoods, and we make decisions based on that. We also look at industries that will bring jobs to our community. Okay, thank you. Oh, where's the timer? Okay, thank you.
So I think the most important thing when you are trying to assess a specific sale of public land is whether or not, or zoning or anything like that, is does it fit the vision for the future that we want for the city, and the vision that hopefully the city commission is actually communicating to the community. So part of the vision should also be getting ahead of problems that are bound to come up because of the direction that our city is heading in, and where our economy is heading. So we have a stagnating state government here in Tallahassee. As we all know, folks that work for the state government, you have OPS jobs, career service jobs, all that getting cut, shrinking, so on and so forth. So for me, that means we need to start diversifying our economy and bringing new types of businesses here. What's really interesting to me are things related to clean manufacturing and green manufacturing. We obviously have a great example in Danfoss here. One reason why that's really exciting is that you're able to support individuals across the educational spectrum. If it's people who have just they have a GED or trade school training, up to our doctorates and wonderful engineering students coming out of FAM and FSU. We want an economy and industries that will actually be able to accept them and keep them here, rather than us immediately losing them to Jacksonville, Atlanta, and everywhere else around the country. So I think that that diversification of economy is really important. But I think that we can do a better job of painting what that vision is for the city and communicating that to everybody in Tallahassee. Thank you.
So if the city is planning on selling or leasing land, I think that we actually need to look at, if public dollars are going into it, then we need to include the public in some of the decision making. We need to make sure that we're getting out into the community, and I think that's where we are failing, that the city do not get out into these communities and talk to the citizens who actually put us in those seats. So I feel like we have to also look at if it's fair, if fair market value is being considered in the selling of our most precious, public assets. Living wage, are we people being hired, that can keep up with the economy? We all know that rent is off the chart these days, and some people cannot afford to live in some of the complexes that are being built, because we talk about affordable housing, but what is affordable housing? Because according to HUD, affordable housing is 30% of a person's income. And so we need to look at a lot, and really it all starts with the city. You know, you put me in that seat, I'm going to get up and get out into the community and have conversations with those who is going to affect. So that is my answer. Thank you.
All right, it works. Well, I believe that when it comes down to selling public land, I think the public has a right to have their voices heard. I believe that the city already has initiatives in place to hear from the residents when it comes down to the planning commission. I think that the amount of individuals who do show up to the city commission meetings, I believe that their voices are heard but not pretty much understood. I do believe that there could be some back channeling going on when it comes down to developers. When we're changing zones, I would want to look into how does this benefit the residents? How does it benefit the businesses? So if we're going to change them, what is going to change? How does that increase revenue? How does that make the city, I guess, sustainable? If that be the correct word to use. I think that the policies that we have in place, they're there. The question is, are we following them? I think that most of the time that we would just go over and beyond and say, well, that's there, but nobody's going to read it and nobody's going to know. But I think what we need to do is to continue to do our job as citizens, as residents, because even if we're elected or not, we still have the due diligence to do what is right for the people. And I do believe that where there's misfeasance, where there's malfeasance, it will be exposed. And it is your tax dollars that is at work. But when the public speaks, when it comes down to elections, we have to trust in the elected officials that were elected by the general public. And we may not be happy with the individuals in the seat, but if they got those votes, we got to respect how it goes. I'm not always happy with that 3-2 split, but for some unapparent reason, the majority of the residents are. If we want to break that cycle, we want to break that change, it takes each and every one of you to decide who you want in that seat and do they fit your values. I digress.
All right, thank you. And you guys kept your time. All right, so we're going to move over to the next category, which is housing affordability, renters' rights, and anti-displacement. So the question is, even with state level limitations, what can the city do right now to protect renters, especially around habitability issues like mold, code enforcement, and preventing retaliation when tenants report unsafe conditions?
Okay, so I'll take this. Thank you for that question. And as I said, you know, raised up in low income housing, I understand how it feels to be in a place where it feels like no one is hearing your concerns. I actually did boots on the ground, knocked on doors in Joe Louis apartments when they were experiencing a lot of mold issues. Had a lot of conversations with residents and kind of voiced it, you know, to the city, you know, in reference to, you know, that we need to do something about it, you know, take it to the housing authority. So you take it to the housing authority and what happens? Absolutely nothing. So we have to be mindful on, you know, looking at situations that are happening, you know, around Tallahassee when it comes to housing, tenant rights. Tenants are losing their rights. You know, they're being told stuff at the last minute. They're not really understanding the rights. And so we need to educate them. So it needs to be an educational program when people are coming into the city or moving into certain apartments and things so that they'll understand what their rights are. We need to do more education, you know, through the city. Thank you.
All right. Well, this question was very broad, but I believe when it comes down to the mold and how people are living, that goes to the code enforcement. I think we have a code enforcement with the city. I do believe that they do their job to the best of their ability. Maybe there may be a shortage, or maybe we need to do more within checking in on the apartments and the housing that may have those issues. I do not believe that creating something new is going to fix the issue, because again, when the individual rents something, It is the individuals who are renting that or leasing that is tearing it up, possibly, or it also could be the property owner who is not taking care of the property. I think we've saw in the news where they went and shut down that apartment complex over, I can't remember what road it was, but it was shut down because for the simple fact, Terra Lake, that's what it was. They shut it down because of the fire issue. Quite naturally, that means that we're doing something. We may not be doing enough, but we're doing something, and you can't tackle everything all at once. Stuff has to be prioritized to the best of its ability, and I believe if we work together, you can't just put that on the commissioners and say it's their job to do it. It is our job as a community. It takes a village to raise a child, but it's also our job to be good stewards over the property that we share, the property that we rent, and the people who we fellowship with. So I think that what we could do better is to make sure that we communicate effectively with each other and not feel as if you have to be afraid to voice your opinions. I believe that all the commissioners stated that they are able to meet you in public. Brother Richardson, Sister Cox, they say if you see him, talk to him. You can get them a call. You have an issue, you can go right on ahead and they'll put it on the agenda. So there are options available. You just have to reach out to them. So I think that we can do a whole lot better with our communication.
Again, thank you for the question, and thank you for your answers. I can tell you what we are doing. At the City of Tallahassee, we partner with community partners in our community that will help us meet those needs. We do partner with the Tallahassee Housing Authority. We're also part of the Big Being Continuum of Care to help make sure that if someone finds themselves homeless, that it is non-recurring and that we work with rapid rehousing. We also provide sometimes assistance to make sure that folks get placed properly. Of course, if you don't reach out, we don't know. But we do have code enforcement, and code enforcement does their job to make sure that if there's a violation, then we make sure that that's taken care of, or at least a citation is given. It goes before the code board with the magistrate, and we, to the full extent of what we have, we push to make sure that if there are mold issues or other issues. We also, as Mr. Stevens mentioned, we also have our fire department who goes out and makes sure that apartments and things are up to code. And if they're not, those citations are put in place, and folks have to do what they need to do to either fix them or they move out, the owner. And for the instance that Mr. Stevens just mentioned, we didn't go in and shut them down. We gave them a list of things that needed to be fixed, and they decided to shut down. So we didn't tell them that they had to shut down. So we're doing our job according to the ordinances, the policies and procedures that we have in place, so that everyone is treated fair and equitable in how we do this work. So as again, I'm quoting Mr. Stevens, if you have a particular issue that you need to see myself or another commissioner about, we're open for you to either meet with us, call us, or have us meet you at the scene, and that's what we'll do. Thank you.
So I think it is well established that there absolutely are resources out there, but I do think that the city is fundamentally failing at communicating the availability of a number of those resources to renters. Something that I would really love to see, and as far as I'm aware, our legislature hasn't limited this possibility. I would love to see something like a renters registry portal of some kind. When you enter a lease agreement with a renter, there's no reason why that can't be logged to where you have a record of the agreement between that landlord and that renter, in an easy way for an individual to communicate issues out to the city in order to respond to it more quickly and more effectively. The reality is that people just don't have education in this space. I think anyone who's lived in Tallahassee long enough, especially if you lived in student housing or anywhere where often people do get taken advantage of, people just don't know. They'll ask their friends, and they have to hope that their friends or someone else knows. So I think the city could do, it's kind of a marketing problem here. They could do a better job of communicating those resources they have available. And there's some creative ways that we could just kind of make the overall problem much easier to track and report.
We're going to move on to governance, transparency, and public engagement. This is going to be one of the first yes or no, so you'll have the opportunity to answer the question yes or no with a minute to respond to it. And this one, we'll start with Mr. Kalicki on this one. Yes or no, do you support changing city commission rules to reduce or restrict public comment? For example, shorter speaking time, fewer speakers, limiting comments to agenda items, or limiting who can speak?
So no, I do not support limiting access to your city commission. We've already reduced the number of meetings from twice a month to once a month. And generally, it's just difficult for people to get access to city commissioners as often as they should. So I would disagree with the recent vote to limit the unagended speakers.
I also disagree. I think no will be my answer. I do not support that. I support having an inclusive and people-centered government. And so people should be able to voice their opinions, and the city should not silence people because they feel uncomfortable. So I think that, you know, with the limiting time for unagended items to 30 minutes, you know, me as a sitting commissioner, it wouldn't matter how long I have to sit there to listen to someone, because I want to make sure that I'm allowing everybody that opportunity to voice their concerns. I also feel that public comment is very important, and people come and speak on unagenda items because of sometimes, just as we just saw, a public hearing being put at 9:00 a.m. in the morning during hump day, a day that's most busy for people. So, okay, thank you.
Well, my answer, honestly, it would end up being yes, and here's the reason why. When we are having a business meeting, and I want you all to think about this, but when we're having a business meeting, it's not up to residents to pile up with 50 and some individuals that are on agenda to go up there and filibuster for the entire time, and individuals can't be heard. The reason why that stipulation was put in place was because that was happening. Individuals were attacking the commissioners. So quite naturally, if that continues to happen year after year after year, you have to end up putting your foot down at some point in time to get their attention in order to have some order. Now, we can change that once we have established order to get unagenda speakers back on their, I guess, the agenda to be able to speak for as long as they want. But I had to learn this the hard way. You can't go up there attacking the people that's elected because you're mad. There's a way to do business. And we don't go to City Hall raising holy HE double hockey sticks because we are upset. That's not the way we handle business.
Thank you for those. Oh, she did. Sorry.
It's okay. Contrary to popular belief, we did not want to have to do that. Yes, I agree with the 30-minute limitation on unagended speakers. We were forced into doing that. When we first came to the commission in 2018, we opened it up for folks to say whatever they wanted to say, however long they wanted to say it, and we stayed there. We were there, and not just in commission meetings, but in blueprint meetings until 11 o'clock at night. We stayed as long as possible, and we'll do it again. But when you're on unagended speakers, when folks are coming to you consistently about something that you can't do anything about, it becomes, you're making folks who really have some unagenda issues, you're making them afraid to come, and they can't be heard because they don't want to be, you know, behind all of that's going on. So what we found in the 2 meetings that we've done this, everyone who comes to speak is able to speak, because we also have in place that we can extend the time limit if we need to.
Thank you for those answers. We're going to move to the next category, which is utilities, cost of living, and basic stability. So the question is, will you support adopting a written citywide policy that, one, limits utility shutoffs during extreme heat and cold, and two, standardizes payment plans and notice requirements? Three, what should the key parts of that policy be? Thresholds, grace periods, enrollment, outreach, etc.
All right, well, I don't believe that the answer to this question would be a yes or no. And Commissioner Cox, correct me if I'm wrong, but the city already extends a grace period. And I believe when there's extreme weather or anything coming of that nature, I believe the commissioner direct the city manager not to shut off utilities at that moment. We do understand that there are things that does happen, but there are resources available that the city does have to be able to help with payment plans. They do have the Urban League, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of other nonprofits that's around to help residents that may end up suffering from not being able to pay their utility bill or what sort. So I don't believe implementing a new policy will be beneficial of a sort when, if it's already there, there's no need to change something that's working. We need to do better at educating the individuals on that, and also educating the individuals on how to be better stewards over their funds, so that we don't run into problems where we have to implement such policies and plans to disrupt the order of business. We can't supply power and you not pay your bill. That's not how a city runs. We'll go bankrupt if we did that for everybody. So what we need to focus on is educating our residents how to come out of poverty and be able to be sustainable in everything that we do in growth. But I do believe that the city already has resources available for this type.
I agree that the city do have resources for that, but however, I will support coming up with a better solution for that, because not all people have the funds. I mean, they run into problems. I am a retired Army veteran. I deal with veterans and I know their situations. A lot of them do have, they have shortcomings. And so they're gonna need power regardless. I mean, people have medical equipment that they need to use in order to control their health, for instance, CPAP. If they don't have power, they can't use their CPAP machines, which is very important. And, regardless of if someone could, they can be educated, that's fine. Everybody can be educated, but at the same time, they still need money. So if someone is on disability, sometimes paying rent and all the other stuff, they just don't have the money left over to pay the high utility bills, especially when there is a service fee included in there as well. That shouldn't be in there. So that is something that we need to work on as well. So having, saying that, people need to control their bills, we need to find out what's below the waterline in order to say that these people are just not paying their bills. We still got medical coverage, people need help. So that's what we have to look at on an individual basis. So thank you.
So generally, I think the city does a decent job of this. As when there is extreme weather, they do tend to allow for grace periods. So I do want to make sure that is recognized. I think there are things that can be done to reduce the burden on individuals further. So one of the reasons why we see fluctuations in your bills, your overall electric bill, is that fuel prices are negotiated way in advance. And then suddenly those fuel prices go up when the renegotiation happens. And that's why, like a year and a half ago or so, we all saw our bills go up a ton, right? So additional investment into sustainable alternatives to supplement our energy production can help stabilize as when there are global crises that are happening, like right now with the war in Iran, that's going to affect our fuel prices. We can't control everything outside of what's happening in Tallahassee, so we should find ways to mitigate that. I think we can also do things like so many people rent in Tallahassee, so many people also have to move around a lot. And so waiving transfer fees, reconnection fees would be a big deal as well, in order to just reduce the burden where we can. Again, I'll kind of go back to the issue with renter assistance, right? A lot of this is a communication issue from the city. We have a pretty good Digitali app, for example, but is there a way for us to ensure that the communication is better and we're reaching people where they are, social media, on their phones, and so on? So, thank you.
You're correct. The city of Tallahassee does have resources to help in the extreme situations, and we do. All it requires is a phone call to customer service to work out either a plan for payment or a plan for how to move forward. The last thing the city of Tallahassee wants to do is disconnect services from any resident, because everyone needs power, and we know that. It doesn't serve the city well for you to not have power, so we do everything we can to prevent power from being shut off. As a reminder, during COVID, nobody got shut off for a whole year after that. And so we had to finally bring some record in and get people to pay their bills. We will, if you have an issue making your payment, call customer service, where they will give you the white glove treatment and work with you to make sure that you do not lose power in extreme situations or other situations. We work with people to make sure that they have that. And I've heard communication mentioned several times. We send emails, we send text messages, we have a WCOT, we have social media, we have YouTube. If you can give me another way that we can get the word out, let me know. Because during COVID, we actually sent people out knocking on doors to give people masks so that they could protect themselves. But if you have another way that we can get the information out to folks, we are willing to look at that and figure out how we can get the information to people. We've done it as all that we know to do, but we're open to hearing other ways.
Thank you for your answers on those. We're going to move to public safety, policing, and civil rights. This is another yes or no, where you can answer yes or no, and then you have 1 minute to respond. Understanding that there are some laws in place that got rid of the Citizen Police Review Board, but yes or no, would you support reestablishing a Citizens Police Review Board or something similar for oversight, transparency, and policy recommendations? And I believe everybody's gotten a chance to start, so we can start back with you, Commissioner Cox.
No, I would not. And the reason I would not is I led the effort to start it in the first place. And with what the Florida legislature did and what the Officers' Bill of Rights state, we cannot, and be within the law of the land, we could not do that. And that is why we disbanded. Again, I led the effort to start it in the first place, and we were doing well. And in fact, moderator, you were on that board at one time, and I had an appointee on there as well. And I thought we were rocking along pretty good. But then, of course, there was some controversy. I will not deny that. And then the legislature came along and pretty much disbanded for everyone. So I would not support, without legislative support or the legislature changing the law, I would not support restarting it.
So I would want to explore, around the statute or, whatever was passed at the time to see if there is something that we can move forward with that does fit within the boundaries of those statutes. Ultimately, it was ended for ridiculous and false reasons. Why there was controversy here in Tallahassee. It was just a bunch of nonsense, frankly. So it never should have ended to begin with. So I think that there is very likely a way, by working with our city attorneys, to be creative and find a way for citizens to have some oversight and a voice in our policing here in Tallahassee.
Yes, I would support it. Transparency builds trust, and citizen police review boards they're not illegal, and we just need to operate within the confines of the state law. So I think it's just plain and simple. We need to have it to build trust.
All right. Well, the answer to that question is going to be no. If you have an issue with your police department or an officer in the police department, you are more than welcome to go down to the Tallahassee Police Department and speak with Internal Affairs. They will be more than happy to set you to the side. You can express your concerns, and I'm sure they're going to do their due process and investigate it. Ask me how I know, because I did it. And I got heard. I got understood. I didn't need a board for that, but I think a board creates oversight. Because all we're looking at is we have 5, 6, 7 individuals. When somebody comes with a claim, we want to get on top of it when the news put it out. Oh yeah, he did such and such. If you're not there, you don't know, you only see bits and pieces, you fighting for something you have no idea about. But again, there's a reason why we have order and structure. If there is something wrong and you encounter something wrong, simply go to the police department and talk with Internal Affairs. They will be more than happy to help you. If that doesn't work, you can come to the commission meeting and express yourself during unagenda speakers. Trust me, we don't need a review board to protect our police department. They are citizens just as well as you. They make mistakes just as well as you. So it's not about trying to hold somebody accountable, but it's about understanding, and that's all we need. My apologies.
All right, thank you guys for those answers. We're going to move to the next category, which is health and mental health. So ALERT has discussed a citywide mental health service at the Lincoln Center that struggled due to limited hours, adult-only access, appointment barriers, and low awareness. What would you change to make it meet community needs?
So mental health is obviously an unbelievably important issue that's thankfully being talked about more, but has been overlooked for decades and decades. So providing those services and the lessons that could be learned, from the experiences that the Lincoln Center had, I think you can partner more with community organizations to try to get the word out and funnel individuals to those services, because there are plenty of outreach organizations in Tallahassee that could, be armed with the educational materials, assist with transporting individuals to that facility. There's so many ways that could be fixed. Ensuring that, is the facility where those mental health services are being focused, is that accessible through public transit, is another great question for me. So I think, again, a lot of this has to do with marketing and how do you actually get the word out there to people. So this is not something that I heard about extensively personally, and I think that there are probably many individuals in the community that could have made use of this that weren't aware that it was happening. So again, better messaging and working with our local organizations, churches, and so on to try to send folks to that service.
I'll go. So I was a veteran outreach program specialist. I actually worked with the Vet Center, which deals with mental health. And so the biggest thing is being out, doing community outreach. I covered 39 counties to include North Florida and South Georgia. So there's a great need for mental health. It is really underserved. And so with the Lincoln Neighborhood Center, what they need is basically an improved outreach. So we need to look at and see what are their needs? What are their needs? So do they need to hire community outreach people to go out into the communities to let them know about their mental health program? And do we need to improve like the hours, extend the hours? Because a lot of people are they're not able to get off from work to be able to go and get that service. Some people, there's a stigma behind going to see a mental health specialist. And so we need to make sure that we have extended hours to where people can go in and get the services that they need. We need to bring in more LCSWs and more counselors to be able to sit down with these clients, because a client has to be able to connect with that therapist in order for it to work. And so that's what I feel like we need to help Lincoln Neighborhood Center as far as mental health goes.
Well, that question alone seems as if it supports a financial burden. I think that even if it is city linked, there are other resources that is in the city of Tallahassee. I would support a collective partnership with other facilities such as Bond, CarePoint, the Behavioral Health Center at TMH. We also have Appalachia, and I believe we have Bethel has an Appalachia Center over on Tennessee Street. There are a lot of resources out, so we can't just pinpoint that on just one facility. But even if that one facility does have an issue, I believe that we need to look at that collectively and find a solution for it. There's not going to be one simple answer that's going to answer that question, but it's also going to require work. It's also going to require a lot of energy for all of us to do that. And I haven't heard anything about this till I got the question. So this was something new to me, so I wasn't too privy on it. But I do believe that a collective partnership would serve the benefit of the individuals that may be suffering from mental health. We all suffer from it in one way, shape, form, or fashion. So we can't just pinpoint individuals and say, well, they have it and I don't. Well, you're no better than the next person, because again, we're all human. You can't change that. I digress.
We do have resources. We partner with Appalachia Health. We partner with TMH. We partner with others in the Bond and other communities to provide mental health. We also provide funding for the Tallahassee Police Department to have a team that's, because every time a call comes out, it doesn't mean that a crime is being committed. It could be that someone is in a mental health crisis. And so we have individuals who help support that by going out to assess the situation and get those individuals to where they need to be. And I've seen that actually in action in traffic one day. So the city of Tallahassee, while we're not in the business of providing mental health, we do provide facilities where our partners can use it. We also can provide funding to partner with folks in the community to get that mental health to where it needs to be. We're all about that. We would prefer that we work with the community to take care of those mental health issues, because a healthy city, healthy residents creates a healthy city. And we want to be able to be a part of making this city and our area a more healthy place. I was not aware either until I just heard the question that there was an issue at Lincoln Neighborhood Center. So Commissioner Richardson and I are here in the audience, and so we will definitely research that and see what the issue is and see what can be done to resolve it.
All right, this would be another question dealing with housing affordability. What is your plan to increase the supply of housing affordable to low and moderate income residents? And what funding tools will you push? That starts with Ms. Hill.
Hey, can you read the question one more time? I'm sorry.
What is your plan to increase the supply of housing affordable to low and moderate income residents? And what funding tools will you push?
So to increase our housing dilemma that we have here, first of all, we have to look at what we have in stock already. The Housing Authority has at least 42 scattered housing units. Some people have never heard of that. So we have to make sure that those aren't being overhoused, that people aren't just sitting in there. We also have to look at offering different incentives and stuff for some contractors that are being building. But however, we need to have a clawback provision when we are allowing builders to build. And that means that if you don't do what you say you're going to do, then we are going to come after you and take our money back, basically. So as far as let's look at Orange Avenue Apartments was torn down. And if you go over there and look at it now on Country Club Drive, you'll see that that project is not even completed. So they tore down a whole nother side of a complex where people could have still been living right now. But instead, you created a displacement of people. So I think we need to be better at and mindful of when we want to build and create affordable housing. First of all, we need to recognize what is affordable housing and to ensure that we are providing just that and not just giving people money because they said that they are going to build affordable housing. We need to ensure that it is being done. And creating a mixed income apartment complex, yes, that is cool, but we need to make sure that that mixed income still is affordable for those who live there.
Well, I think the city has done a marvelous job breaking ground to do things as far as low-income families. I don't know if you all are privy to the information. On Lake Bradford, I believe they just, well, I don't know if that was last year, or maybe, yeah, last year they had broke ground on the apartment complex that they're building over there, which is for low-income families. They actually did a nice little picture. Commissioner Cox, Richardson, city manager, I think Jack Porter was there as well. They are doing the best they can with what they have. I don't know if we're expecting something to just be done overnight, but stuff takes time. And I think that what's going on is we want stuff so quick, we don't want it to cook. We want stuff in the microwave and then we want it to be done. I don't know about y'all, but I don't like food in the microwave. I liked it in the crock pot. It tastes a little better to me. But I'm just telling you, sometimes you need to slow stuff down just a little bit, know the facts, and then be able to respond to it. Columbia Gardens, majority of it is done. The other half, it ain't done yet. But the individuals that did come up out of there, they were placed somewhere else. They did not just go out there on the street. And I believe Commissioner Richardson, we talked about this in 2024 during that election. But I think what we have to understand is the commissioners, is not their job to go and fix all the problems. We are a community together. And therefore, we have to do this thing collectively. We got to be in one unit. And even if we don't agree, what are we going to do? We're going to fuss about it and continue to stagnate progress? Absolutely not. But I think what we can do is work together and continue to do the things that we're doing. And if we break ground at least one a year, we're doing a whole lot more work than what other individuals are doing.
The city of Tallahassee has partnered with many community partners here in town as well as out of town to address the affordable housing and the low rent. It is not an easy thing to do, because in the case with Columbia Gardens, we're partnering with the Tallahassee Housing Authority. We don't lead that effort. We partner with them, and they had to get money from the city of Tallahassee, the county, the CRA, and the federal government in order to be able to do that. But there's a lottery also that they have to be a part of to be able to even start that. And so the part that is not completed will be for seniors. That was set aside just for senior citizens, but they have to come up in the lottery to be able to get those dollars to be able to do that. We at the city of Tallahassee are poised and ready to help. We also partner with Tallahassee Lending Consortium. Commissioner Richardson sits on that board. And just last week, I believe it was, we broke ground on an area in a developer sitting in the audience here, Haggai Construction with Kenneth Tate. We also worked with Tallahassee Lending Consortium. And there are going to be 17 homes built on the south side on Wallace Street for that very purpose. So we are always looking for opportunities to work with and partner with individuals. As I said, I understand about 30,000 people are expected to be moving here. We've got to have somewhere to house them. And we're going to do it correctly. We're not just going to throw something up. And we're not going to allow anyone else to come in here and just throw something up. So it does take time. It does have to cook. The slow cooker might be slow cooking for some, but if you let it cook long enough, it's going to be good. And so what we're trying to do in the city of Tallahassee is make sure that our product is good, and reputable developers are helping us to do that, as well as agencies that have been tasked to do that. Tallahassee Housing Authority has been a great partner, and so has the Tallahassee Lending Consortium and others in helping us reach this goal.
Really tempted to make a pressure cooker analogy, something. No, I think there's a couple ways that we can be a little bit more creative than we currently are in our efforts to expand housing in Tallahassee. So a lot of people have mixed feelings about the big single block, massive apartment complexes, student housing that we have right down the road from us actually here. But I think that you can encourage gradual development or redevelopment in neighborhoods that doesn't destroy the character of neighborhoods, but you can go from a single family to a duplex, triplex, quadruplex, and so on. So we should be encouraging more of that. I think really importantly, though, our permitting process in Tallahassee could be significantly better than it is. And the reality is that when developers, through incentives or whatever, are wanting to build something, if it takes a really, 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 really long time to get through the permitting process, they're losing money, and you'll have people abandon projects in the long run. It's a boring answer to say permitting is a fundamental problem here, but it is. And I've also heard people say, well, we can't fix permitting, and I think that's nonsense. Many, many cities around the country have rapidly improved their permitting and still maintain safety and all the things that the reasons why we have permitting to begin with. So I think fixing some of the steps in our permitting process will lead to housing getting built faster and meeting the needs as we grow and we have those 30,000 folks coming here to Tallahassee. So that's all.
Excuse me.
If one person gets it and everybody, we'll give you 30 seconds if you all wanted to respond in any kind of way. So quickly,
Okay.
30 seconds.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So I just want to say that Orange Avenue and Columbia Gardens is near and dear to my heart. And I know with me being boots on the ground there, that not all of those people were able to come back. So we're going to make that clear that not all of the people were able to come back because they could not afford it. And in the agreement, there was agreement made with the Tallahassee Housing Authority that they're actually supposed to put back 10 units that consist of 4 and 5 bedrooms. And so it's just not for elderly. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Stevens, did you want 30 seconds?
Brother Moderator, I just wanted to yield a question to Commissioner Cox, if she could speak on the permitting process with the city so the residents can be aware of what's going on in the city. That's all I needed.
We got an alley-oop to Commissioner Cox. You got it. 30 seconds.
As in any process, there's always room for improvement. And we are in the process of looking for that area of improvement in the permitting process. I think that it's not something that can happen overnight, but we are definitely looking at how to improve the permitting process.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go back to equitable development, land use, and neighborhood power. So the question is, what is your plan to ensure local residents, especially from disinvested neighborhoods, get the jobs created by city-supported development?
Mr. Stevens.
Well, first and foremost, we can't just limit individuals with who we're going to hire. Everybody's a resident of the city. I think it's a fair process when you apply. I also believe that at the end of the day, our neighborhoods may be invested. When we look at the Holden Street projects, when we look at Joe Louis, when we look at Basin Street, when we look at these apartment complexes, we see they've been around for quite some time. I think there are some opportunities there for us to change that. If I'm not mistaken, Joe Louis is supposed to be getting remodeled. I don't know when that's going to take place, but that was what I was told. I think that's something that we can focus on. But when it comes down to jobs, I believe Career Source, actually over off of Blackstone Road, can help anybody locate a job within the city of Tallahassee, within Leon County, period. It's a process. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to do our part. If we do not do our part and we're still trying to limit individuals to just say, it's a city issue, it's a city issue, it's a city issue, we must be educated on the processes of how things work in America. Simple as that.
Would you mind repeating the question? I want to make sure I answer it.
Okay, so the question is, what is your plan to ensure local residents, especially from disinvested neighborhoods, get the jobs created by city-supported development?
Okay, thank you for the question. I can tell you what I have been doing along with others on our commission. We have invested, approved projects, over $30 million worth of projects on the south side and in the Frenchtown neighborhood. And what we've been doing is making sure that by putting in some of the agreements, making sure that folks coming in to do this work are hiring folks from Tempo, which we use Tempo to help get people ready to go to work, also hiring individuals from the neighborhood and from the community so that those dollars will circulate in our community a lot longer than they have been circulating. And since I've been on the commission, through Blueprint, CRA, and the city of Tallahassee, these neighborhoods have been invested in. The Southside Action Plan speaks very clearly, and I encourage you to go read it. It speaks very clearly to what it is that we're doing and trying to do, because there are parts of town that has gone with lack of investment. But we're fixing that, and we're investing not only in Southside, but in all sides of town, because we represent the whole city, not just parts. And so we're doing our best to make sure that we are spreading the peanut butter over all of the bread to make sure everyone has an opportunity to participate. And what I've said to individuals is that you do what you need to do to get your paperwork together so that when it's time to bid on these jobs, you're ready to bid on these jobs. There was a small business development fair held recently, sponsored by Vaughn Wilson and others, to help minority businesses get ready, or any business get ready to participate in this. The money is there. We need you to go get it and take care of your family and have a good quality of life. So those are the things that we've been doing.
So in the requests for quote or proposal or so on that go out for these projects, you can have terms for local preference. So that's an easy way to do it. There are other economic tools like promise zones that can also be made use of as well. But I think there's a really fundamental issue that we still have here in Tallahassee, which is that we don't have nearly as many people working in the trades as we should. So this is another great topic and opportunity for us to encourage more young folks to go into these industries that essentially folks are retiring and they're closing up shop and then they're just gone. So if anyone's hired electricians or plumbers, you know how expensive it is here in Tallahassee, and it's much more expensive than it is in Panama City Beach, Valdosta, and other similarly sized communities around us. So bring people into the trades so that they can even get that job, and then use clauses like local preference to ensure that local folks are getting the work.
So while I feel like I'm in a cooking 101 class here, I feel like that we need to have stronger local hiring requirements. Like when people come here, they need to make sure that they're providing a livable wage and also offering benefits. I mean, a lot of people don't have insurance and stuff. So, having a job, getting a job, or bringing in businesses that are actually going to offer those healthcare benefits can be a plus. Also, partnering up with our local schools here. I mean, we have FAMU, we have TSC, even FSU, and Port Lively. People forget about Lively is a technical college, and they do have partnerships with, I know at one time with the Orange Avenue United Tenant Association, they were able to send people to Lively to do nursing programs and stuff. So, I mean, those type of things. I think people even forget that Goodwill actually has a nursing assistant program. So, being able to send folks there, I think is going to be an advantage. And Goodwill services are free. So I think we forget about, those services and stuff. So we need to kind of research ourselves and look at other resources outside of just the city development stuff. So thank you.
Thank you for those answers. We're going to go back to the governance, transparency, and public engagement section, and this one is another yes or no. Would you support a city charter amendment that creates a formal restoration commitment for communities harmed by past discriminatory or unconstitutional public policies? And I believe that starts with, I think Stephen started last, so we'll go back to Commissioner Cox. You need me to repeat that?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you support a city charter amendment that creates a formal restoration commitment for communities harmed by past discriminatory or unconstitutional public policies?
Of course. Of course we would, because it's never our intent to discriminate or to cause discrimination, but what we've been trying to do is to cure it where it has existed by sponsoring programs in areas to bring attention to it. But of course, again, the Florida legislature is at work and are doing things to prevent us from doing those kinds of things, because we could be removed from office if we support it or fund it or any of that. So of course, that's why we do a lot of community festivals. We go into communities and offer different activities and support them and participate in them to bring attention to maybe some things that happened in the past that should not have happened. We can't cure them all, but we definitely want to do our part. We have a commission that is willing to do that and has the mind to fix as much as we can fix while we can. And we've been doing that since I've been on the commission.
So yes, I would support that city charter amendment. The reality is that, as the commissioner alluded, our legislature has destroyed many elements of our home rule. And with the recent DEI law that passed, that's going to really negatively affect small business, minority-focused organizations in our community. It's a travesty, and I would really love for us to try to find a way to, again, to work within the statute to get some sort of long-term fund created. I think having long-term investment strategies to create a fund that could be there in perpetuity, throughout all the changes that we're going to have in our state government and local government, that would be really great. And I would love to push for that as much as we can.
I say yes. We need to do our due diligence in making sure that some of the wrongdoings that were done are corrected. You can't apologize for slavery and then turn around and, not be respectful of enslaved people that are on a golf course. So we need to make sure that we do our due diligence. And like they said, let it cook. Sometimes we just need to take our time and research. And if there's new findings, we need to really dig into those new findings and see what we can change. Because there are some things in this city, the city owes, the people in Tallahassee a chance, an opportunity to speak and to make sure that we are being, having our just due, basically. Thank you.
My answer would be yes, and I would say it would be yes for the simple fact that, again, it takes 3 individuals on the dais. Hopefully, we can come up with 5 individuals who would agree to a formal restoration on the city charter. But again, that takes the residents' input, and it takes you getting to the polls to make sure that it gets done.
Thank you for those answers. So I'd like to move us back to health and mental health. So the question is, what city partnerships or investments will you prioritize to expand maternal health support during pregnancy and postpartum, especially for Black mothers, with the context of increased maternal mortality being the highest amongst African-American women? And I think Mr.
I'll take that first. We did something very historic last week. Is that okay?
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
We did something very historic last week to help with that. We transferred the city assets for TMH to Florida State, so that Florida State, Florida A&M University, Tallahassee State College could help us build a healthier North Florida. And that's not limited to certain things, but it's open to all things, especially to the newborn and especially to the mothers who need that type of help, and other things that are needed. So those were the reasons why we needed to expand and broaden our healthcare in this area, not just in the city of Tallahassee, not just in the county of Leon, but in this region, because there are areas, rural areas, where mothers are suffering because they can't get access to healthcare. And we need to make sure that whether they can afford it or not, that's what we agreed to do last week, whether they can afford it or not, they'll be able to get that type of healthcare, good quality healthcare, without having to travel away to get that. So that was one of the things that we did last week to make sure that going forward, that those are some of the possibilities that could happen in the near future here in our city.
So Leon County is pretty low in the rankings for, or I would say infant mortality is a massive problem here. And unfortunately, if you look at the data from around the country, your proximity to healthcare facilities actually doesn't necessarily solve that. There are many approaches that you know, folks can take to try to ensure that the first couple months are as healthy as possible, because the reality is that when a child's born in a hospital, that's one part of the process, right? It's those next couple of months that are immensely important to ensure the health and well-being of that child, and that's unfortunately when you see some of those infant mortality circumstances. So I think there are creative ways, again, that we can look at what other folks around the world are doing. There's a really cool idea in Finland. Finland does something called baby boxes, and they have a very, very cheap option. It's essentially a cardboard box with a blanket, first set of clothes, some diapers. It is the absolute basics. But you saw Finland end up with some of the lowest infant mortality rates in the world because they ensured that every single person who left the hospital, regardless of who they were, what insurance they had, that their baby was going to have a safe place to sleep, diapers, fresh clothes, so on and so forth. That would be, let's call it, less than $100 a unit as an investment that the city could make to ensure that every mother that left the hospital was going to maximize the chance of that baby living to become a healthy, happy adult.
So first of all, we actually need to reach out to the Black mothers to talk to them and see what their concerns are and what their needs are. We can't look at other, countries or, to say that this is going to work here. We need to start within our city and speak with Black mothers to see what their needs are, because it's not just about, the pre and postpartum. You have to look at the mental health of it all. And so just because we allow FSU to take over a building, we still don't know what they're going to be doing with it, because there are documents that's not even signed. So we cannot say that's exactly what they're going to do when FSU is actually under the Florida Board of Governors, and so they are anti-DEI. So if you're not, cool with anti-DEI, if you're rejecting it, then why would you give over one of our most valuable public assets to somebody who is already under that program? That does not sit well with me. And how many of you does it sit well with? Thank you.
My turn now. All right. Well, I don't know about my opponents over here, but I technically just had a son in October, Bernard Michael Stevens III. He's right there, by the way, right there. Beautiful lady in the blue. Okay, that's him there. All right. However, I'm going to just go ahead and make this real quick. Tallahassee has resources. When I say resources, there are already local resources. There's the Phi Center on Gaston Street. You have the Mosaic Building that is actually on Tennessee Street. You have the Belly Boutique, was actually over John Knox. You also got Big Ben Cares. There are resources for everybody in this community. The fact of the matter is we need to be aware of that. But if you don't ask, you're never going to know. No need to point fingers about what's going on here, what's going on there. The answers are already there. If you don't do your homework, you ain't going to be able to get the care that you need. Anybody can be cared for. That's simple. But if you don't reach out and then say, well, it's the commissioner's job. They need to do this. They need to do that. Well, the resources that are already available, maybe they need some more funding. Maybe we can see what we can do with that. However, what I'm thinking, there should be no child that should be hungry. These facilities, you got WIC, they give you free milk, they give you all that good stuff. So I don't see why nobody should be hungry. The hospital also give you a blanket, a pillow, some milk before you go home. They give you about 6 of them. Ain't how many we got? they're gonna give you some stuff. So no child gonna be hungry. I'm gonna just go ahead and say that. So the city does their job. Tallahassee has resources. There are local churches. We just have to get the referrals to the individuals who's suffering. There are contact numbers. And again, if you reach out to your local officials, you will know exactly what you need to do to get the help that you need.
All right. So all of us have been wondering where this gentler Stevens has come from. And you got a beautiful child and a beautiful woman. So we understand now, the gentler Stevens. But welcome. We're enjoying it. So we're going to take a quick break. I know we've been going at it for about an hour and 15 minutes now. So we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to look at the audience questions. So be sure to text your question. Here's the number up here. You can text your question. We'll gather those questions and we'll present those at that point. About 10 minutes, 7:30, yeah.
Okay, yeah, still on. I got a neighbor there. I guess I need to start thinking about material. So, yeah, I'll show you guys. Can I write down? Hey, how you doing, sir?
Listen, I got to go, but hey, some good medicine.
Yeah, we're doing 17. Look here. Excuse me, sir. How you doing?
Limited read. Yeah. Huh? Councilman Drill, how you doing? You came up past me. How long we been there? Legal this town. I made it illegal. You got the hug on me. We gonna love each other. We gonna have way more love.
But I like, and I had told Bruce, what you said when you was up here, like the yes or no questions. I don't think that.
You can have an amazing conversation about things, right? Drop me in a silo.
They may have talked
But they were trying to prove a point. It was going to flip something. They didn't push back on that. Double down on these things, I'm shutting that thing down. You never signed this, y'all. Once I talk to him, listen, right here. The man who did a piece of stuff in his name was Don Howard on Hope Street. That man stopped me, saw my face, and man, if I knew you in the race, I didn't know that man.
It was my fault.
That's the Lord. The Lord is so amazing, is that right? Yeah, Lord, got you. I put a lot of church in the house. Way too much church. You know what, though?
Yeah, I told him I was like,
We in the middle of having a weekend there. That shit is something that exists. Probably some of the facts. That's one of the problems. Yeah, so my team was talking about why we can't tell one person to preach that doesn't mean
yeah. I definitely will. I definitely will. That was part of my ending. I know my dad and my grandfather. Yeah, watching news every day. Yeah, my grandfather used to go to my great aunt's house and watch the news, and he just sit there and cry like, and she said, I got so tired of your granddad, I kicked him out of the house one day. So when I came home, when I actually got leave to come home, I went to visit him, and then I went to see my aunt. She said, wait a minute, before you come in here and get comfortable, did you go see your granddad's house? Like I did. Yeah, so it's hard. It is hard. Yeah, people don't understand that. People are in it. A lot of stuff, they give you the sit rep and they tell you different things, but it's an eye opener when you get over there and you hear the sirens and you see that you got to run down in that motor or that pop. So it's crazy. And then they always say, oh, females aren't on the front line. I was like, I was close enough to see the fireworks. That's why a lot of people don't like fireworks. I did. I'm a retired Army veteran. I served in Desert Storm. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And what's your name? Okay, all of them. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
And I did not know that. Oh, you did? For the birthday party.
Oh, you did?
I did not know that.
Okay. Yeah, the whole year plan. Yeah, it's a lot of, he is experienced in mind, but physically,
I would, and I always do. Audience questions, that many. All right, and then we can do only so many questions.
And then I told her she's on cloud nine. You know how long she had.
Even though they set the questions, you don't see them. It's all good though. Yeah, we didn't get home. One thing is that everything is. It's not personal. It's just but we all thank from the women that are for, because I told them, I said, I didn't see that. All I saw was you responded back. Like, be in touch with Tallahassee. So for that effort, I said, no, he deserves
All right, if everybody can have your seat so we can get started back.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
If everybody can move to your seat so we can get started back. The candidates can come back forward.
All right.
All right, we have about an hour left. So in this hour, we are going to go through some of the audience questions. So again, if you have some questions, and also we'll take some questions that are coming from the Facebook page as well. If you do have questions, if you come up with a question, the number that you can text that we can take the questions from is 850-935-7725. Again, 850-935-7725. So if you have a question, you can text it to that number. If you're online watching, either on YouTube or Facebook or one of the other ones, you can either put your question in the chat or you can text that number as well. So we'll go to the first question. This one you have 2 minutes to respond. Name one improvement you want to make in the city and your specific action steps to accomplish this. And we'll start, I'm not sure who we ended with the last time, but we'll start with Mr. Stevens and then we'll come backwards on this round. Mr. Stevens.
Brother Moderator, I need that question one more time. It slipped.
Yes, sir. Name one improvement you want to make in the city and your specific action steps to accomplish this.
Well, one improvement would honestly be to make sure that we have a diverse government and to make sure that everyone is able to be heard and understood, even if it means we have to work over and beyond the expectations given. I think if I'm elected, all I'm going to do is listen to you. I'm going to work with my colleagues to the best of my ability and to make sure that we find an amicable solution to make sure that you're heard and understood. I think when you take the time out to meet with someone, to discuss their concerns, their problems, you're able to understand what's going on in the neighborhood. Sometimes the commissioners can't get out to talk to everybody. That's the reason why the president of the United States don't take everybody phone call letter. It's only a selective few. There's only 365 days in a year. If they took out the time to meet with every resident every day of the week, they would be tired, overwhelmed. So I think we have to give them some grace. And I also think that the only thing that we need to focus on is how can we support our commissioners? How can we support our government to make it more feasible for all of us to live in a county, in a city that speaks for all the residents? Again, you're going to have some yays, you're going to have some nays, but again, it all takes all of us to be able to work together collectively. And I think I'm just going to make sure everybody get heard because I know how I feel for me not to be heard. So I'm going to just make sure that we all get heard.
Ms. Hill.
So I'm gonna make sure that I get heard today. So one thing that I will approve is the way we do process. So we need to have a process where when there is a project on board, we need to be more of an inclusive, people-centered local government. So we need to be able to get out of our seats because people, you all vote us into these seats. So we need to be able to go out into the community first. And here, there is a lot of great community, like creative, innovative people here in Tallahassee. Would you agree? Right? So I need to come out in your community and find out, what do you think about the sale of our Tallahassee Memorial Hospital? How will we handle all of this? So we need to be able to get out of our seats and go out into the community and do charrettes, do workshops, and find out what can we improve upon. So that's what I feel, that the process needs to be done, and we need to be held accountable. We need to be held accountable for the actions that we take. And we need to be able to admit that when we done something wrong, that we made a mistake, we need to come back and apologize. Nobody apologized to the Orange Avenue tenants when they were displaced, and they were displaced. So please believe me, because I was there, and I was the one who went out and got lawyers outside of our city to come in and help represent these people. So that is what I'm talking about. We need due process, and we need to make sure that the city follows process.
There's an extremely easy and immediate improvement that we could make on day one of any of us taking office as your next city commissioner, and that's firing Reese Goad, our city manager. And listen, I think Reese has done a great job with the city utilities. I'll give him credit for that, but there are plenty of other areas. Let's take 287G, right? 287G, we did not need, so this is ICE, cooperating or being deeply involved with our Tallahassee Police Department. The city did not have to do that. Our county did have to do that, unfortunately. But our city manager and the chief of police entered that agreement without the consultation of the city commissioners or the people who, I would say roundly, people in Tallahassee were not going to be into the idea of ICE working with TPD. So that was a tremendous mismanagement. You can take a look at the TMH deal and our insanely bargain value that Florida State got for the transfer of TMH. We sat there at the commission meeting and heard, City Manager Goad say that, okay, well, we value the debts and we value the land, but we don't value the revenue when we look at a fair price for the hospital, and that's frankly ridiculous. So City Manager Goad came from an era of prior issues, and kind of he knew, all the baggage of former city governments that we've had, and he was selected over two incredibly qualified people from West Palm Beach and St. Petersburg. So day one, hit the eject button, bring in somebody that has fresh new ideas, and that will be an immense improvement to the future for Tallahassee.
An improvement that I like to see in the city of Tallahassee is for us to come together. We are so divided. The nation is divided, and we in this city are divided. We can do as Dr. King said. We can learn to live together and work together to live, or we can not do that and die as fools. I'd like to see our city come together. And the way that I am doing my best to do that is to provide the communication, to provide the education, because a lot of it is that we just don't know what we don't know. And I used to come to city commission meetings raising Cain too. But when I learned better, I did better, because I found out I didn't know everything about how government operates. Many of us, I didn't, but many of us missed the civics lesson. Many of us don't know that there are 3 levels of government. Many of us don't know that there are things that certain levels can do that other levels can't do, and there's supposed to be checks and balances on one another. So coming together, making sure we understand how we're supposed to work, what the policies and procedures are that are in place, the processes that are in place, because we haven't been successful without a process, and a process that's equitable to everyone. I want that to happen. Another thing that I'd like to see happen, I tried this long time ago and I think it's on its way. I'd like to see something happen with Ashmore to maintain and preserve the history of Frenchtown, to make sure that that building becomes a center point for information for Frenchtown. Because we know that Frenchtown no longer looks like it used to look for many reasons. But we're trying to do what we can while we're in this space with a commission that's willing to do the work to try to make things better as we go along. So my number one thing is to promote unity through education and to leave a preservation of the Ashmore.
Thank you for that. We'll do one more audience question. This question is, hold on, I lost it. Okay, this question is, will you commit to ending homelessness in Tallahassee? What specific steps will you take to accomplish this? And I think, yeah.
Okay, so homelessness, that is a huge fight here with homelessness. When I was a veteran outreach program specialist, there are programs that the VA use where they actually go out into the woods to find homeless veterans. And so what I think is that we have to do more outreach in there. We have to formulate some type of program or utilize resources that we can partner up with if we have to go out into the woods or go in the middle of the night to see, why are these people out on the streets? What is happening? We need to make our homeless shelters better. I've been inside of the homeless shelter and I wouldn't want to stay in there myself. I mean, it smells like feet and arms and everything else. So, I believe that we need to improve the centers that we have, and we need to do more education about our homeless population, and we need to be honest about it. Let's not make people a number. Most of us veterans, we always say we are not just a number. We need to see action being put forth to help people who are out there that are homeless. We need to look below their waterline to see if there's any mental health issues or things like that, and guide them to the programs that they can utilize to make them better.
So I think fundamentally, the issue here is access to housing. We've talked about that a lot, right? So I think we can take transitional housing approaches because an unhoused individual is usually unhoused because one of the many reasons may be that they don't have income, right? So some folks need help getting access to the things that Florida already offers, if that's SNAP or whatever it may be. So we can do a better job in providing that access. But fundamentally, if you put somebody in a home, in shelter, they have an opportunity to go get a job, have a regular routine, and start building healthy habits in their lives, and hopefully make it out of that unfortunate situation. We've seen with our current city government pushing individuals further and further to the boundaries of the city. We have anti-panhandling, things that were passed primarily to appease the people on the north side of the city who were seeing folks panhandle around I-10. They got frustrated by that, and we have the signs, don't give money to people, but tell them where to go, right? Well, people need money, people need to work, so on and so forth. So I think that there's a lot that we can do, through targeted affordable housing programs to have some sort of structure for dense housing, get people into a place that they can call their own that's safe, and then allows them to transition out into the workforce and be sustainable.
I do commit to that. And what we're currently doing is partnering with Big Bend Continuum of Care. Big Bend Continuum of Care is the lead agency for homelessness in our community, not just in Tallahassee, but they're the region. But they're funded by federal government, and we provide funding. I sit on that board, and we staff it with members from the city of Tallahassee. And what we do with our partners is that they do go out and do a point in time count. They go wherever they know people are and try to count, so we'll know how many people we're dealing with. What you need to also know is that there's only the city of Tallahassee, there's only one homeless shelter here in the city of Tallahassee, the only one within 3 hours. So folks are sending their folks and bringing their folks here, so because they know that we're going to take care of them. We've also been working with reconnecting those individuals with their families from wherever they are, and we've been buying bus tickets or whatever to get them back reconnected with their families. So we're already doing some things, and yes, I'm committed to continue to doing that and doing even more. We also work with providing funding for rapid housing if they need, rent to be paid so they can be rehoused for whatever. We do that. We're already doing those things. So absolutely, I'm committed to doing my best to end homelessness. But believe it or not, there are individuals out there who do not want to be in shelters. They do not want to come inside. They want to live outside. We've been told that. It's hard to believe, but that is what we've been told. So we can do what we can, but we can't force people to accept help.
Well, I do commit to ending homelessness. I think the main issue is individuals need hope. They need hope. They need a belief system. And when you get on the news every day and you see a government that fusses, yells and screams all day long at each other, what the other individual ain't doing, does that make you want to get up and go to work? Or is that depressing? Nobody wants to go do anything and gets overwhelmed and they give up. And we expect our government to just change everything. And I'm gonna reiterate this here. There's a local government, there's a state government, and there's a federal government. Those are your three legislative branches. And we expect the local government to do what the state and the federal level allow us to do. And all we can do is do our part by going out and voting. If you don't like what you see, you go out there and vote. If you continue to complain, raising Cain, you can't get mad at nobody but your neighbor that say, I don't believe in voting. I don't believe in doing this, because they're going to do whatever they want to do. Is that the mindset to have? Be the change that you want to see in the world. Don't give your problems to somebody else and expect them to do it for you. But you be the change that you want to see. Stop fussing, stop cussing, just going on out there, touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, it's going to be all right, and encourage them. We want to sit around here and talk about what everybody ain't doing. Ask yourself, what are you doing to change the community that you're living in?
All right. Another question from the audience, and this one is specific to Commissioner Cox, and I believe it's a response to when you bring up the TMH FSU deal. So the question is, how does selling TMH to FSU lower maternal and infant mortality? Can you be specific?
No, I cannot be specific. For one, I am not one who, I don't collect that data. I do not know how to lower maternal health. I think, unless, Tiffany, are you a mother? I mean, have you don't have to answer. I'm the only one here on this panel who has given birth. So I can speak to, what it's like to be a female giving birth and what you go through. I've done it 3 times. And to give birth to 3 boys, trying to get a girl. I gave up because it wasn't going to happen. So I cannot give you data on how this is going to happen. That is for the medical profession and the researchers to be able to do that. And if I sit here and try to make up an answer for you, it's not going to work, and I'm not going to lie to you. But what I believe is that we've got to move forward to make improvements in all health, not just maternal health, but in all health outcomes. And you've heard me say this. I've had those experiences. We've got to make North Florida a healthy place so that mothers, fathers, grandmas, uncles, aunties can all get the help that they need to have a long and healthy life. Well, I answered the question based on how I interpreted it.
That's fine. And please no yelling from the audience. We're gonna try to keep it. All right. And now allow the other candidates to respond. The question was specifically asking about how the transfer would lower maternal and infant mortality and asked for specific reasons. And that was based off of that, but you could respond based off of whether you think this was a good idea as far as the transfer and will it be good or bad for healthcare. You can start. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I didn't see when we went through this process, and we had individuals from FSU Health go up and speak, right? There was very little information about what was actually going to be prioritized with all of this investment. They said $1.7 billion investment. That's great. I hope it happens at this point, right? But in order to make people feel better, you can communicate more and lay out that roadmap for what is actually going to get prioritized. So, we say, okay, I had to go to Shands a lot as a kid, right? Everyone here in the room knows people that have had to go to Mayo or go to Shands or whatever because you can't get certain care here. And we have sold, a promise to the people here in Tallahassee that you're not going to have to do that. Now, the reality is for many, many things, that might be 15 or 20 years from now. And that isn't to say that we can't invest in the future. I want to be very clear. That's not what I'm saying. We shouldn't do something because it's going to take a long time. But I don't think that we know exactly where those priorities are going to lie. If it is a better NICU unit, if it's overhauling the emergency department at TMH that needs a ton of help, if anyone's been there recently. So I think that it was incumbent on Florida State to do a better job. And this was my criticism of the commission for passing something without a clear vision from Florida State of when exactly these benefits were going to be delivered and how they were going to get there.
Before we go to the next answer, there's a Honda Odyssey license plate tag LAFT15 or T1S. You're blocking somebody in, so if you could move your car. Thank you. Nobody's gonna move.
Is that your car out there? So can you please repeat the question?
The question was specific to Commissioner Cox as far as asking how the transfer would improve infant mortality. And I was just allowing other candidates to respond to that question as well.
Okay. There's really, how do you answer that when, they haven't even finished signing the papers? We don't know what they're going to be doing. Plus, they are anti-DEI. So what programs, how would that play in that? So we don't know. I guess we'll find out maybe April 1st or something. I mean, we don't know what is going to be the true outcome of what programs they're going to support and what programs that they are not. So, and to answer the question that was asked of me, I was at one point, I thought I was going to be a mother after I came back from Desert Shield, but I did not make it all the way through. And part of that is because of the type of care and just go back home. I was one of those mothers that fell into that category. So no, I do not have any kids. Except for community kids and a four-legged one that I need to claim taxes on. So yeah, there you have it.
I'm not a medical professional. I will not be speaking on the matter.
All right, we're going to change tack a little bit. This is another audience question. Do you support a tree protection ordinance that will protect trees of a certain size no matter what?
Trees of a certain size, no matter what was the phrasing there? Okay.
The question was, do you support a tree protection ordinance that will protect trees of a certain size, no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would need to see the proposed language. I'm not going to, but like, I think the reality is, and I've spoken on this before, we used to have city arborists who were specifically employed to, provide consultation, and we no longer have those. They work for the utility. We have arborists that do other things, but we don't have people that specialize, in protecting some of these massive live oaks that I think we all love. It defines the skyline of our city. And I think that a better tree ordinance would absolutely be beneficial for the city.
Any order? Commissioner Cox.
We do have a tree ordinance, and we love trees. We're a 55% tree canopy in our city. But when storms come and those trees fall on power lines or fall on homes, we have to readdress and deal with that. We do have folks who monitor the life of trees. I got a 100-year oak in my yard, and it breaks off and it does all kinds of things. I don't touch it, but we do have people who can monitor and see if the tree is dying. If the tree is dying, then you need to remove it before it removes itself, because when it removes itself, it could be in your kitchen or in your bedroom. So we do pay attention to those kinds of things. We're not out we don't clear cut trees just to be doing it. A lot of times when you see that, those are property owners who made decisions about their property or the property that they've sold. We try to manage our trees. Like I said, we have the tree ordinance, and I can't say that we promise to protect every tree no matter what size or no matter what, because where my house is, it used to be covered by trees. Where trees are now, we will probably need to put some homes in the near future, but we want to do it smart. We want to do it the right way. We don't want to just go in and just do stuff, but we certainly don't want to choose trees over people's lives. And so that's the bottom line on that one.
So for me, with trees, I actually spoke one time at City Hall about a forest that's inside the city. If you ever drove by Orange Avenue, the English forest. So if you heard of that, so at one time, I mean, they still have a big for sale sign up there, but we were fighting to make sure that even though it is privately owned, but if we could speak to, the owner and say, hey, we want to protect the aquifer. So sometimes we have to look at what's below those trees, right? So that we can protect, our water system. And so, and sometimes when the city has said that, this tree is dead, and then the tree is cut, and I've been in a position where I've actually spoke about, hey, don't cut this tree over here, this oak tree where they put in the bus station, and they say, oh, it's dead, but when they cut it, it is not dead. There is nothing dead about that tree. And that was a big, beautiful, beautiful oak tree. So yeah, I agree. Some trees may have to be cut back or what have you. Like I had a tree partially hanging over my house, and my insurance told me I had to cut, half of it because I would lose my home insurance if I didn't. So there's some instances that it has to happen, but at the same time, we can save a lot of, especially the forests. We need to keep that, pure, and being able to not just making Tallahassee end up being like a concrete jungle. That is something that we do not want to happen.
Brother Moderator, can you rephrase the question one more time, please, sir?
The question was about, would you support a tree ordinance to protect trees no matter the size of the tree?
Honestly, when it comes down to that, we have professionals that are in line for that, right? And just like Sister Hill just said, if her insurance company told her she had to cut the tree down or she gonna lose her insurance, are we still supposed to fight for the tree or let her lose her insurance if something happened to her and her family during the event that that tree falls during a storm? I'm not sure if y'all remember when the tornadoes came and tore up Tallahassee, but it did. I don't know if y'all remember how many power lines were down. I don't know if y'all went down Adams Street and see how it tore up FAMU campus and how long we was without power. But in order to protect lives and save lives, we have to have the experts that we hire, we trust to make those decisions. You don't leave that up to the commissioners to say, well, you put something in place. They'll be more than happy to listen to you. If I'm elected, I'll listen to you as well. But it has to make sense, not just for you, but it has to make sense for everybody. We have to put safety and security all on the same line. It can't just be separated and then we say, all right, well, you're going to save the tree and then lightning come and strike the tree, and then we have a bigger problem. I'd rather preserve your life, and we know that trees, it take God 100 years to grow a tree, an oak tree at that. We didn't do that. He did that. So with that being said, all I'm saying, when it goes, something can be replaced. And all we have to do is protect what we have. And the way we do that, stop littering. Stop putting your trash all over the road and stop letting your landscapers blow your leaves all in my streets. And then it gets in the drain and then we got a sewage back up and floods. So that's what y'all can do for me. That's all I got to say.
If I could just have 30 seconds.
If you can, and if
Okay.
anybody else wants 30 seconds, then they can have it too.
I just wanted to remind folks that if the city removes a tree, we plant more trees somewhere else to make sure that we keep our canopy percentage up.
Anybody else want to respond? All right. So next, we're going to move back to the equitable development, land use, and neighborhood power from some of the prepared questions. This question is, ALERT has heard concerns that CRA dollars intended for Frenchtown have not produced visible resident-centered improvements in Frenchtown. As city commissioner, what will you do to ensure CRA investments match the purpose and geography they were created for?
I'll go ahead and start that because you can be a witness to this one. Well, you were there. I mean, you don't have to say anything, but you were there. The CRA dollars have been for the neighborhoods and the communities within the CRA districts. $6.4 million to Bond, $6.4 million to Frenchtown. Those are CRA dollars. $6.4 million to Griffin Heights from the city budget. Those dollars are put in place for residents to work with city to determine how those dollars will be spent in their neighborhood. There are visible signs of those dollars being at play. Bond community, very evident. Frenchtown, emerging, on their way. Griffin Heights, on their way. Grocery stores being built, other park and other things are happening. So I'm not sure why we feel as though it's not being visible, but there are folks who come to town and actually tour our city to look at the improvements that have been made in these parts of our city. So perhaps we need to do more touring, perhaps we need to point some things out and so that folks will be able to see and know. I don't know what we're looking for, but many of those things are projects and programming that have been proposed by the residents who live in those neighborhoods, and then partnering with other community folks to come in and make those things happen. So if we need to do a tour, let's do it.
You take it in order.
So, the makeup of the folks on that CRA board are fairly spread out and represented via people from the capital city. Sorry, blanking.
CRA Board of Commissioners.
I apologize. had a blank for a second, apologies. You have people who represent different parts of the community, including the chamber. I was trying to think of the Capital City Chamber of Commerce as one of the individuals to the CRA board. So, it is a fairly diverse and wide group of folks who are providing input on the projects for the approvals for that CRA money. The only way that you get, different approvals there are by changing the rules for the CRA or changing the people that are on that board. So I think it's important for individuals from the community to go voice their opinions about what they aren't happy seeing, what they do want to see. I think that's the most important part. If you're not happy with where those dollars are being spent, you need to go make your voice heard so that the folks on that CRA board can ensure that they are representing the will of the people.
So for me, as simple as this: if CRA dollars are meant for Frenchtown, then we should see, we should be able to see the results of that, right? And if this building on the south side or the north side is $1 million build, and you go on Frenchtown side and this building is $1 million bill, but they don't look alike. They're not getting the same amount of square footage. So we want to make sure that it is an even playing field. Like if this is $1 million and they have over 3,000 square footage, then we want to make sure that Frenchtown or Griffin Heights is getting that same amount of square footage for the amount of money as well. There shouldn't be no difference in that. So we need to make sure that there's an even playing field across the board. And listening to CRA covering, the different what Commissioner Cox has said, I didn't hear in there about South City. Like where are the CRA funds for South City? Is there none there? So we have to look at why are some of the other areas are not being mentioned as well.
I believe I attended a meeting at, I want to say it was Dade Street, and Brother Moderator was there. Actually, he facilitated it along with some city officials, and we were talking about, I can't remember what action plan it was, but the residents pretty much have a voice in regards to what goes on in your community. And I think when it came down to Frenchtown, if I could count the number of people that attended that meeting, it couldn't have been no more than 23 individuals. 23 individuals showed up for that meeting. And then we have a lot of individuals who don't show up to meetings at all. And we got all the answers. But the answers are in those public forums where I believe Commissioner Richardson attended that meeting as well. And the resources are there, people. And we had to vote right then for the stakeholders and anybody else that participated in that to decide where we wanted the money to go and what we wanted to do with that. And I only had one problem. That was with the roads. I told them I'm tired of these potholes. That was my thing. But everything else with that, what $100 used to mean 20 years ago ain't the same $100 today. There's materials, there's labor, there's also insurance, equipment. We need to take that into a factor. $6.4 million may be given, but it is broken down in sections to the way that money can be dispersed. And correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Cox, but what I understood from what CRA funds are for, we must attend the budget meeting. And during that budget meeting, that's when everything is discussed and it's put out plain in the open for every resident to know what is actually going on with the money that is being spent. You may not see it because there may be a holdup, and maybe we may have selected the wrong vendor. That may be the case as well. But my brothers and sisters, I assure you that the money is accounted for. And again, the little bit of space that is there, we cannot make it identical for what looks like on one side of town compared to the other. We are still a work in progress. If I spend $1 million on a building here and then I decide, I apologize.
And I'm gonna give you Commissioner Cox 30 seconds to respond because you were.
I want to say to Dr. Hill, South City is in the CRA. We have 2 CRAs, the Greater Frenchtown South Side CRA. Commissioner Richardson worked really, really hard. He carried the water on getting South City included in the CRA. And that's why those CRA dollars came into play with Columbia Gardens, as well as the housing on the other end of Country Club Drive. So it's in there.
I want to speak to the people not showing up to some of the town halls and stuff. And it's for me, because I've actually shown up to a lot of town halls. And over the years, you know, you hear people after a while, you ask them, why are you not going to the town hall meetings? Well, it's because they're going to do what they want to do anyway. People have lost trust in the city. So they'll come there and they speak and they say, hey, basically you're making people feel like you're just checking off boxes.
Time. Thank you. Anybody else want to respond? 30 seconds.
If the individuals feel as if they have lost trust in the elected officials, again, they have reiterated on multiple occasions, their doors are open for you to come and express your concerns, people. We cannot continue to blame the commissioners. We can't continue to blame our neighbors. We have to do our work. And again, if you don't like the answer, rally your people together and vote. That's all I got to say.
All right, move on.
All right, so we are going to move on to housing affordability, renters' rights, and anti-displacement. So this question is a yes or no question, so you have 1 minute to respond. Do you support creating or expanding the Tallahassee-Leon County Community Land Trust?
We can start, I believe, Mr. Kelly, yeah, or Dr. Hill. Whoever want to start, go ahead.
I honestly believe that has to be a collective agreement. The city and the county must come together and decide whether we need to expand it or not.
Yes, I think expanding the community land trust to leverage a transitional model for people to get into affordable housing would be really beneficial. That's, you know, where the land is leased and the home is purchased, and that reduces the overall purchase price of the home. So that's very beneficial. It's been proven successful around the country. So we should continue to do that and expand it.
Yes, I agree with the land trust. However, I still feel like, you know, even with that part, you know, it does sustain affordable housing, but at the same time, we do need to educate people about, you know, the land trust, like what they're getting into. So if it's not going to be your forever home, then maybe it may not be the option for you. But that's the part that we need to really educate people on in reference to purchasing a home in the land trust. So we need to ensure that education is really being really being put forward there.
Yes, and we have, and we look for future opportunities to do so. We work with our partners, Tallahassee Lending Consortium. We have a land bank there, and we're looking for more land. If someone wants to donate some land, we're open to that, to do just what the mission of the land trust is, to be able to provide those first-time home buyers and others, low income or moderate income, to be able to become homeowners. So yes, we absolutely support the expansion of the land trust.
Another yes or no question. Would you support creating a dedicated office division of food systems, food security within city government to coordinate and lead solutions to local food access challenges, including grocery access, neighborhood retail recruitment, farmers markets, mobile markets, urban agriculture, and coordination with nonprofits and county partners? You need me to repeat that? No,
I can go first.
Okay,
I can go first. We're already doing that in the city of Tallahassee. We're already partnering. We have the grocery store we're doing in Griffin Heights that we're building.
And not to cut you off, the question was, would you support creating a dedicated office or division of food systems within the city government? No, because we're already doing it, dedicated or not.
We're doing that. We're creating community gardens, vibrant communities. We're doing things to make sure that folks have access to food. We've got food lockers, food pantries that we support. We partner with Leon County Schools. We partner with neighborhood services. We are partnering with anyone who wants to partner with us to help us meet these food needs. We know that we have the gaps in being able to provide grocery stores, food deserts. We know this. And so we're doing some creative and alternative things to fix that. So I don't see that we need to have someone that is all that they do, because it is a coordinated effort right now. And we will continue to increase that coordination to make sure that we're hitting those areas that need this done. We're doing it in the city of Tallahassee.
So food deserts are certainly a very, very real problem in Tallahassee, and I think that you have to address this across. No, I mean, answer the question, I promise. You have to address this in many different ways. So I do think that establishing some sort of department or office, depending on how big that ends up being, can be debated. But you do need someone who cares about monitoring that on an ongoing basis. It's a public health issue. It's a multifaceted issue. The reality is that we have a lot of really amazing urban farmers and farmers in our neighboring counties, and a lot of those goods end up going to a farmer's market way up on the north side of town. So I would love to see expansion of farmers markets, into parts of the city where they traditionally have not been, so people can access affordable and healthy food. Farmers markets can also take SNAP and EBT, so there's no reason why any individual can't have access to that food. But it's also way more than that. Okay. Oh.
Yeah, yes and no is a 1 minute response.
Okay, so yes, I do support that. I think we do need to have a department that is going to keep an eye on those who say that they are delivering food to people, and that some of the programs that that cannot cover, like, some people don't qualify for some of the programs. So we need to have a filler in there, and we need to have an organization or a part of government that can be the watchdog and make sure that, the people who are supposed to go out there delivering the food are actually taking the food. We need to have accountability for all of that. So I think that programs who say that they're doing certain things need to be doing it, and we need to have that accountability to know that they are doing it. So, that's just my concept on it. So, thank you.
Simple. My answer is no. We don't need governmental insight or oversight to monitor food. We have programs, people, that are already in place, and we're expecting to change those. That seems to me that we're not trusting the process, and we're trying to replace individuals because we're upset that the process is not working for us. But what about the other 235,000 residents in Tallahassee? What about them? All I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, the government, you do not want them over everything. Some things we need to handle in-house. Go speak to your local food banks. The Second Harvest, we have food drives every week in this city, every week. So there's no reason why nobody can't get no food. We do not, and I'm gonna say this one more time, we do not have a shortage of food in the city of Tallahassee.
All right. We're running out of time, so we want to go to wrap up our session with one last question.
Okay, so this is a closing vision. It's a 2-minute question. So where do you want Tallahassee to be in 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years? And what is the first concrete step you will take in your first year as city commissioner to move us forward? To move us toward that vision, especially in economically divested neighborhoods?
I'm not sure which order we in now, but we can, yeah, that's the last question. So we go down the line. All right, let's start with you, Mrs. Stevens.
Since I got to be the one to start off, I'm gonna just go ahead and be brief. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bernard Michael Stevens Jr. I'm currently running for Tallahassee City Commissioner, seat 5. I would tell you one thing that I will do if I am elected. I'm gonna make sure that Jack Porter becomes mayor pro tem. I'm also gonna make sure that we see Tallahassee elevated into what it needs to be elevated to by your voices and what you want to see. However, we cannot be upset with the process when the individual comes to you and says, well, I don't like this. Well, of course, you may not like it. So do you get mad with the public official, or is there a reason behind it? Even if they took the time to explain something to every resident, you still may not be pleased. Sometimes it's good to get a yes and it's good to get a no. If you apply for a car and they tell you, no, I can't give you no better interest rates, what do? You move somewhere else and you go get another car. Does that car last as long as the one you was gonna get? Probably not. My brothers and sisters, all I am telling you, where you want to see your community and where you want to see the city of Tallahassee, be the change that you want to see in your community. We have to come on one accord. We have to stop pointing fingers at who not doing what. Take the time to go talk to your local officials, go talk to your food banks, do the work. Stop allowing the work to be put on one person and say, it's your job. Then what is my job as a resident? I don't see too many people getting out there picking up trash off the side of the road. I don't see that. I see everybody, and I'm gonna just be honest and frank. If I complained every day about an issue, it's not gonna be solved. If I have no solution, why am I complaining? My brothers and sisters, I tell you this, when you go home tonight, you have a lot of thinking to do. You have a lot of thinking to do. What do you wanna see with your community? And that means, do I fuss about everything or do I find a solution? Take the time to think and think about the candidates that was up here tonight to make your vote count. Even if I don't win, my phone number is still publicly available, and you can call me and I'll be more than happy to talk to you.
Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. That is the Army core values. That is something that is instilled in me since I was 19 years old when I joined the United States Army. And I deployed to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Desert Care, Operation Enduring Freedom. I carried that along with me even when I got out of the military on retirement. I carried that with me to the Veterans Health Administration, where I was a veteran outreach program specialist who serviced 39 counties, not just North Florida, but South Georgia. I heard the stories here. I was born and raised right here in Tallahassee, in low-income community. And I'm here to tell you that I was placed on a mission, and a mission to hear your voices and to work for you. I am not a politician. I am a servant of the people. I have served my country. I served it honorably, and I will for sure serve you in the same manner. And I will fight for you. I am not afraid to go against the grain. I am not a yes girl. I am a handle business. I am a doer. I get out and do things and make changes. I start trends. Look at me. Thank you. My name is Tiffany Hill, and I am your candidate for City Commission Seat 5.
So I really want to focus on the last part of the question, which is, what are we going to do to move forward with economically disinvested neighborhoods? And one of the main reasons why I'm running, and the main criticism I've had of our local government in general, is not creating more opportunities for people economically. And the reality is that the best thing we can do for anyone who is in a disadvantaged position is give them an opportunity to develop a real career, build a real future, and provide for themselves and their families. So the future that I would want to see for Tallahassee in the next 2, 5, 10, 20 years is, instead of every year losing so many of our FAMU and FSU grads, keep people here, keep the talent here, and build a unique economy that people identify with Tallahassee that incorporates, but is not only limited to our universities and our state government. I think that is going to be the absolute best mechanism that we can leverage to help everybody in our city. And it's something that our city has not done a super great job at for the last 30 or 40 years. We blocked manufacturing from coming here in the 80s, and we've made similar mistakes over and over again. And we can do it while maintaining our, environmental values and ensuring that, these jobs are going to benefit everybody regardless of education level. So I think that's kind of my main North Star that I want to focus on. And I think it's going to help the most people here in Tallahassee. So my name is Joe Kalicki. I'm running for City Commission C5, and I really appreciate your time.
I was going to say adjust the camera, I'm moving. Good evening. I am your City Commissioner for Seat 5, Diane Williams Cox. Since 2018, coming to the commission, I've worked with my colleagues on the commission to deliver to our community. I just came back from Washington, D.C., advocating on behalf of the city of Tallahassee, like all the other cities from across this country were doing, meeting with our legislators and our representatives and senators in the Capitol to help them understand we here in Tallahassee, we need your support, we need your help. I'm going back to do the same thing, this time with a group of cities from the state of Florida to focus on Florida specific issues. This is what we do. What we do here is beyond just inside the city of Tallahassee. We can't do it all ourselves. Everything we do depends on what you decide you want to spend to make it happen. You want a new department? That costs money. You want this? That costs money. So what we're trying to do is be good stewards of your money. So in the next 2 years, I'd like to see our Tempo program expanded. You know what Tempo does? It takes those individuals who've had a brush with the law and put them on the right path so they can get a trade, own their own business, go to college, and become a part of our community, producing income to create a good quality of care. I'd like to see our Tallahassee Future Leaders program expanded. Well, you know what that is? That's our summer program where we hire 200 children from high school to earn money and earn skills so that they will learn the value of money and learn how to do a good job. And when I asked them, what are you going to do with your first check a few years ago? They said, buy food. They're going to be able to help their families. Coming from a rural community, Gadsden County, working in the tomato fields and tobacco fields of Gadsden County, I don't want anyone to ever have to do that again to help their family to live. So in the next 2, 5, 10 years, I want to work with our community, using the resources that we have and the resources that will come to us because we are advocating for them to make our city move forward together. Thank you.
So that'll wrap things up. Bruce Struble is going to close out.
All right, there we go. All right, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. I hope you found this as informative as I did. Again, thank you to each of our candidates. Give them a round of applause, please. I think you all did a great job laying out where you stand on the issues, and I think all the voters will benefit when they get to the polls. They know where you stand. And again, thank you to my 2 moderators who did an excellent job. All right, and before we leave, I just want to thank our partners again. First, Watson Temple for allowing us to use their space. Tallahassee branch of the NAACP. Our students from Florida A&M University, the ACLU FAMU chapter. And then all my colleagues and partners from Tallahassee ALERT, thank you very much for everything we did to put this on. Everyone, thank you. Have a great night. Oh, and of course, Mr. Vaughn Wilson for getting us going with the audio-visual support. It's a team effort, y'all. Everybody have a great night. We'll be back next Monday with the candidates from C3.